The Colorado Buffaloes are riding high, but they are on trap game watch this weekend with the Utah Utes coming to town.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You could start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow to stay up to date with all the news. Colorado Buffaloes, they are hot, like I said in my intro. And I feel like there's no team in the Big 12 right now that could beat them. That should beat them. That being said, that doesn't mean there's not a team that can't beat them, because the Utah Utes are a really intriguing matchup. This year's game, from Utah's perspective, is very similar to last year's game, where they have injuries at quarterback. I'm hearing Brandon Rose, their starting quarterback from last week against BYU, his status appears to be sort of iffy based on the interwebs and what I've been told. And then also they lost Brant Kuithe, which is probably the best tight end in college football. He's out for the year. They don't have Cam Rising. He's out for the year. They lost a wide receiver who quit the team. They're just missing players all over the place. That being said, this defense is still really, really good, and it's going to be the best defense that Colorado plays. And I want people to sort of understand Utah's record 4-5 is not indicative of how good this defense is. Their offense is dog water. It's trash. It's hot garbage. You use any adjective you want. It is bad, right? The only positive thing on their offense is their running back, Mekhi Bernard, who he has 860 yards rushing on the year. He's been a revelation for them. I think he's sort of been the only bright spot for them, averaging 5.8 yards per carry. He also can make an impact in the rushing game. But you look at their offense, right? Their leading passer is Isaac Wilson, 1,200 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, 8 picks, sacked 14 times. Brandon Rose got his first career start, and he's a redshirt sophomore. On the year, he has 157 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. As a team, they're completing 53.9% of their passes. Like I said, the run game is the lone bright spot, and they're just not doing much, right? So the only reason that Utah has 4 wins is because they played they got all 4 wins at the beginning of the season. They started the year off 4-0, and then they've lost every game since. So they're obviously hungry for a win. A trap game also is usually a team that is hot, comes off a big win, which Colorado beating Texas Tech on the road by 14, I would consider a big win. So Colorado comes off that big win. They beat a Texas Tech team by 14 points, where I think a lot of people were like, this is going to be Colorado's test. And I think they tested them for a little bit, but I was fully confident in Colorado once the second half rolled around. Utah is a team that everyone's overlooking. You look at Colorado's schedule, and it's like they should win out. And so this Utah team, they are going to prove to be a difficult test. So they're 4-5 on the year, but that's solely because their offense is terrible. Defensively, this will be the best defense that Colorado's faced all season long, which this is better than Nebraska defense, better than the Kansas State defense. They have better playmakers, and they rank statistically better as well. So to put that in perspective, this is why I view this game as a trap game, solely because Utah's defense is really good. It's not me saying that they're going to slow down Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, because no one slows down Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter. I think this past weekend against Texas Tech was the worst game that those two had connecting with one another. And I'm pretty certain that Travis Hunter still had a game that most receivers would consider a great game for them. He had 9 catches for 99 yards and a touchdown. And I would, like I said, I don't think him and Shedeur were on the same page. So it's pretty crazy that they could have an off week and still dominate. But let's look at this Utah defense. Total defense they rank 14th in the country. Nebraska was 16th, or is 16th. Kansas State was 34th. Those are the 2 teams that beat Colorado. Nebraska's defense was definitely a big reason for their success, and obviously their offense wasn't as good as I think Colorado's defense made them look that week. And I mean, they just plugged in Dana Holgorsen as the offense coordinator for the final few weeks because Nebraska, fun little fact, I think you guys will enjoy this one. Nebraska is fighting to make a bowl game. They beat Colorado, beat Northern Iowa, then they lost to Illinois, beat Purdue, and then they've lost or beat Rutgers as well, and then they lost to Indiana and Ohio State and UCLA all in a row. So they're sitting at 5-4 with I think a coin toss schedule the rest of the way. They travel to USC this weekend, and then they're going to host Wisconsin the following weekend, and then they'll travel to Iowa to play Iowa the final weekend. So Nebraska might not make a bowl game. That'd be pretty interesting. Kansas State's defense ranked 34th, like I said. Red zone defense. Utah's defense doesn't take the ball away a lot. They don't get to the quarterback as much as Colorado does, but they keep teams out of the end zone. They rank 20th in the country in red zone defense, and then they also get teams off the field. They rank number 1 in the country in third down defense, allowing conversions on 23.8% of third down plays or third down tries. Penalties, they're very disciplined, ranked 30th in the country. Colorado, as we saw this past weekend against Texas Tech, and as we've seen throughout the season, Colorado struggles with the penalty stuff, right? They are one of the least disciplined teams in the country in terms of penalties per game. I would say this team's a lot more disciplined than last year's team, but in terms of not inflicting penalties on oneself, Colorado still struggles with that. And then scoring defense, they rank 11th in the country, allowing 17 points per game. And Utah's played some pretty potent offenses. And I'm not going to compare any of these offenses to Colorado's. Like BYU's offense, I think is, again, it's no Colorado, but technically because Colorado doesn't run the ball well, BYU's offense ranks better in total offense. They rank 56, Colorado's 59th. And Utah held them to 22 points. They held TCU to 13 points, and TCU is an offense that, in terms of total offense, they rank 28th in the country. They held Arizona to 23 points in a loss, and Arizona's offense is somewhat decent at times. So this Utah defense is going to be a really good test for Colorado. Now, obviously, this isn't me saying that I think Utah's going to win this game. I think Colorado probably wins this game by double digits. I just don't think it's going to be like 40-something to 10 or whatever. I think it's going to be probably a little bit more of a low-scoring game for Colorado. But if they're able to survive against Utah and this Utah defense, I think they'll be fine the rest of the way, which I already think they're going to be fine the rest of the way because obviously this Colorado offense is peaking at the right time. This Colorado defense, whether it's Brandon Rose or Isaac Wilson, I think they're going to make their life hell. Like this team, I think this Colorado team is peaking at the right time. And I think a lot of teams are going to learn that the hard way. Also, it's going to be really interesting to see what the College Football Playoff Committee does with Colorado peaking at the right time. Those rankings drop tonight, and I'll make sure to do a live reaction to those as well. So that way we can sort of discuss. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about the latest update on 5-star quarterback Julian Lewis. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Roy. Locked on Buffs fans, listen up. You need to download the Roy app. You've heard us talk about Roy this season, how they've revolutionized the NIL industry. Roy allows you, the fan, to have a say in who gets the NIL money. And here's what I absolutely love about Roy. You get your money back if that player transfers. Roy is helping us keep our team intact, and it's actually good for the game long term. Amari McNeil is my player of the game from this past weekend. I think his presence on the defensive line, blowing up runs, getting to the quarterback, he is my Roy player of the week. I obviously think he had the biggest impact of anyone for Colorado. That's why I chose him. So by choosing him, I deposit a little appreciation onto that player's account. To do that, download the Roy app. You can see what the logo looks like if you're watching on YouTube, or go to joinroy.com. Now, let's spotlight my Roy player of the week. Like I said, Amari McNeil, he stuffed Texas Tech when they were in the red zone, right? He stuffed Baron Morton. He stuffed Taj Brooks. Like, he made it so they couldn't score. He got to the quarterback multiple times, which is blowing up plays nonstop. And so really proud to see him go from, I think, someone who's a little bit forgotten to someone who stepped up when there was a lack of depth. Every contribution counts. 10, $20, it all adds up and is going to help your favorite players stay put. Join me and show some love for Amari McNeil. Download the Roy app or go to joinroy.com. Today, use promo code Locked On. Every athlete from every team is there. No purchase necessary. Void or prohibited. Go to joinroy.com for full terms. Roy, support the players. Change the game. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so that way you could stay up to date. Julian Lewis, the hottest quarterback recruiting prospect in the country. I think he's sort of outside of the uncommitted, the couple uncommitted quarterbacks in the top 50-ish. He's the only quarterback who I think most people view as on the move. And lo and behold, the Colorado Buffaloes got some major news about him because Julian Lewis is on flip watch at the moment. On3's director of recruiting, Steve Wiltfong, he projected that Colorado is going to flip him, and I think that's a pretty big deal because obviously Colorado needs a quarterback. They badly need a quarterback to replace Shedeur Sanders. So Steve Wiltfong put in a prediction in favor of Colorado. Colorado's been working with him all season long. Reportedly, he's loving what Colorado's doing this year. He's also loving the opportunity to possibly play right away, which at Colorado, I think, barring a crazy spring ball from Ryan Staub and fall camp from Ryan Staub, I feel like the path to the starting role is pretty clear. That being said, when you get Julian Lewis, you aren't just getting Julian Lewis, because when you land a 5-star quarterback, it's the 5-star effect, right? Players are interested in going to where that player plays or where that player commits, and that's especially true when it's a quarterback. I think a lot of people underestimate just how, I won't say easily influenced, but just how much these recruits keep tabs on other players or other recruits, because they go, oh, so-and-so went there, so I should go there, right? This Colorado team has a chance to really solidify themselves for the future, because I think the biggest question for Coach Prime and company is, what do they do after their core leaves? After Shedeur leaves, Travis Hunter leaves, Shiloh, Cameron Simon-Craig, Jimmy Horn, LeJontay Wester. What do they do after they leave? Well, they need someone to be the face of the program, and Julian Lewis would be the perfect face of the program. And so there's that. Colorado is currently the favorite to land him, which, I mean, I have to applaud their efforts. I think that they showed throughout this process that they were never going to give up on Julian Lewis. And, I mean, it's going to pay dividends, right? He's ranked as a 5-star according to ESPN and Rivals. On3 has him as the 36th player in the country, and or that's their On3 industry ranking. They have him as 45th, and then 24/7 has him as the 115th. But their On3 recruiting prediction machine gives Colorado an 80.8% chance of landing him. That being said, Colorado is not, the job's not done yet. There was a report just minutes before I recorded this that Julian Lewis is going to be taking a visit to Colorado, or not Colorado. That'd be great. He's taking a visit to Georgia. Now, obviously, he's a Georgia guy right now. Plays for Carrollton. Georgia is going to need a quarterback, right? They have Carson Beck on the way out. They have Jaden Rashada waiting in the wings. But is Jaden Rashada the answer? I don't know. They don't know. So they want to make sure that they have multiple quarterbacks to choose from next year. Colorado is going to have to continue to work to make sure that, hey, he's our guy. We're going to bring him in. But, hey, if Coach Prime lands a 5-star quarterback, I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong in the recruiting circles, because I think there is always this sort of like understanding of like, yeah, he's going to get 5-star corners. He's going to get 5-star receivers. Why wouldn't he? Like, he has Travis Hunter. He's the best cornerback of all time. Coach Prime is. Travis Hunter could be, I guess, but not yet. Coach Prime is the best cornerback of all time. So why wouldn't 5-star corners want to go play for him? But landing a 5-star quarterback is a big deal. It's a big deal for the program. Answers a lot of questions, but Colorado has a lot of work to do, as I keep saying. When we come back, I'm going to be telling you guys my keys to Colorado securing a victory against the Utah Utes. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. Let me tell you about FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Keys to winning, right? Colorado is currently sitting at 7-2 on the year. Very impressive record. They are trending in the right direction. They're favored to win the Big 12 now for the first time under Coach Prime, which is a big deal. Obviously, the odds makers view Colorado as the best team in the Big 12. I think after this past weekend, BYU looks fragile to me. I think BYU is gonna get upset eventually. I'm eyeing that Arizona State game. I think it's this weekend actually, or next weekend. Next weekend. So BYU is going to be going to Arizona State, 7-2 Arizona State, might I add, in Tempe. ESPN's Magic Predictor gives them just a 50.1% chance of winning, which basically means it's a coin toss. And so I think BYU is looking very, very vulnerable. I don't think they've been convincing by any means, whereas Colorado's they're beating their opponents by an average of like 19 points per game in their last few wins. So pretty big deal. 3 keys to victory. Let's start off with take away the run game. I think Colorado's done very well at this. I think that their run defense has been nothing short of a revelation for them. I think they make it so other teams can't rely on their run back or their running back, because as we know, Texas Tech had a good running back. Kansas State had good running backs, which Kansas State, they I think actually got to them a little bit. But UCF and all these teams, like they want to rely on the run game, right? And so Colorado is currently doing really well at stopping the run. If you take away the run game from Utah, you're forcing Brandon Rose or Isaac Wilson, whoever's behind center, to beat you with his arm, and neither of them could do that. Neither of them have showed that they're capable of doing so, and they've shown that they make a lot of mistakes. That being said, I think that's my first key to the game. Second key to the game for Colorado, don't let Utah's defense take the wind out of your sails. We'll put it that way, right? Like I talked about, this is probably the best defense that Colorado's faced all year. That's how Utah stays in these games. Utah may be 4-5, but if you look at their last few games, right? Last week against number 9 BYU, they lose by 1 point. They lose by a field goal. Houston, who's I think a lot better than people realize, they're currently sitting at 4-5 on the year, which isn't great, but Houston's a better team than people realize. They only scored 17 points. TCU, one of the best offenses in the country, they scored 13. Arizona State, pretty good offense. They scored 27. Like, no one has scored 30 points on this Utah defense all year. Oklahoma State, which this was when they had a backup quarterback, Utah did, 22-19, they win that game. Arizona only beat them 23-10, and they were sort of – I like that Utah game was close. It was close until the fourth quarter, or Utah was in until the fourth quarter, I mean. So this Utah defense, don't let them take the wind out of your sails. They're going to be good. They're going to be stout. Just play your game, and things will happen eventually. So those are my first 2 keys to victory. Create havoc, right? Force turnovers, put your offense in plus field positions, right? So the defense get an interception, set up the offense in a short field, because that was what I think the teams that have success against Colorado are the teams that have short fields, right? Where it's like, okay, we don't have to move that far. But yeah, those are my 3 keys. And then Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, get back on the same page. I think the stats are a little deceiving. Like last week, I think Travis yelled at Shedeur a couple times. You could see them going over stuff on the sidelines. Like they just were not. It just was not the same sort of dynamic duo that we've seen, or that we've grown to see from them, or grown to expect from them. Like they just didn't have it. And it's okay not to have it every single game, but get back on the same page and don't let the trap game get you, right? You're a big noon kickoff. This Utah team is fighting for ball eligibility. They have a really good defense. They're a little desperate. They have nothing to lose, in the sense of like, they've already kind of, I will say they've waved the white flag on the year, but this Utah team is supposed to be the best in program history, and now they're fighting for ball eligibility. So the vibes are down a little bit. So don't let them take away from what you're trying to accomplish, right? You control your own destiny. You win every game, and you're in the Big 12 title game, and then you're playing for a spot in the playoffs. So Colorado has a lot at stake. Utah doesn't. I fully expect Colorado to win this game. You guys comment below. Let me know what you think. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Buffs. You can follow me on X or Twitter at Kevin_Borba. And I appreciate all the support that you guys give me. I will see you guys tomorrow.